Hello there ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to what I painted this month for February 2017. So as you can see, a fair few models by my standards there, quite a few different things. There's a lot of balls on display, that's right, my balls are out for the public's approval. You'll also notice Jeff in the middle there, and some Stormcast. So let's get straight into this, shall we, and immediately start with the balls. These are ball monsters from Macrocosm, and I've had these for quite a while, and I've been planning ever since I got them to use them as more beasts for my Kings of War Goblin army, but I never got round to it. I don't know why, because it wasn't a particularly difficult paint job, even though I think it looks quite effective. The way they've been painted is quite simple. White primer, orange airbrush from above, so that the bottom is still white, and then a blue glaze all over. So underneath is kind of that icy blue, and then on top it's the orange with a hint of blue in the crevices, and then kind of part way down you can see where the orange isn't quite as strong because it's been sprayed directly from above mostly, so it fades into the white, so it's a nice transition, and I think they look very, very tasty with that colour scheme. The little nodules and whatnot poking out of them are all in purple with a little bit of white dry brushed onto the edges. Nothing particularly special about the eyes or the teeth. The snow bases are done in the same way I do all my Goblin snow bases. The cork put down, the edge of that painted in grey and then dry brushed with white, and then the white PVA glue mixture painted all over the top with the snow powder then piled on that, after the grass tufts of course. The way the balls have been attached to the base is with little bits of wire you can see on a few of them where they're jumping high into the air. Those wires have been painted white so they blend in nicely with the snow. The ones on the front base aren't particularly high. There's a couple at the back that are quite high up because when I use them as a regiment rather than two troops, then that one will go at the back so you can still see the ones behind because they're slightly higher up. These are resin, so they're very easy to drill into as well for that kind of basing. Okay, that's enough of the little balls now. Let's look at my massive ball. So this one, I've painted it in exactly the same way as the small balls, but obviously it's much bigger. For the base, I wanted it to be quite tall, because I was going to use it as a slasher for Kings of War, and they're supposed to be height 4, which is the same as a giant. So to make it taller, I've put it on a bit of a hill, which I achieved by piling up plastic bases on top of each other, and then putting milliput over the top of that, to make it nice and smooth and not jagged. If I could go back and do it again, I would use some bits of cork around the edges, to give it more of a cliff face look in certain spots so it's not so smooth. I think that would look good. Maybe if I do another one at some point I'll try that out. He's attached with 3 little wires instead of 1 because he's so big and juicy. Other than having 3 wires and being much larger than the other balls, not much difference at all. Considering it is essentially just a scaled up version of the small ones, there's quite a lot of nice detail on this ball. You can see a nice group shot of all the balls together to see the size difference. You can see that he is quite a beast. I think some of these may still be for sale on the Macrocosm website. There was a sale, so I know that some of the ball lines have sold out. I'm not sure if that includes these ones, so if you're desperate to get any, you better have a look ASAP. Caca! That is of course the trademark battle cry of Jeff, who you can see here. Now this is a Reaper Bones Chimera, and anyone who's not familiar with Jeff, you should probably check out more of Dreddy's videos. Gloom Dreddy Gaming, if you're not familiar. Jeff is of course a central character in a lot of her videos, and he's featured in a lot of battle reports, and since we do Hangout Age of Sigmar games, I thought it'd be very important to have a Jeff of my own as well, just so he didn't have to be CGI'd into the battles like he has been previously. Having my own model of Jeff, which I've painted pretty much to match the real Jeff. So I haven't gone all out trying to make it look spectacular, I'm just trying to match exactly how the other Jeff was painted. So there's a lot of dry brushing going on. I don't think I've got it exactly the same, because I think the genuine Jeff has different colour claws. I think his are actually red, so maybe it's just his cousin. And I also think that some of the yellow lion's mane reaches a different point on the actual Jeff. But the angles that I saw pictures of him from, I couldn't tell exactly where it stopped. So I think on the real Jeff it goes slightly beyond the armpit onto the arm as well. But other than that, I think it's pretty authentic. The colour shades might be slightly different, but it's definitely got the spirit of Jeff. He's on a 50mm base rather than a 60mm, which the original Jeff was on, and I did have to actually cut off a little bit of his kind of built-in base that was built into the miniature. So he's got one leg dangling off the back now, instead of touching the ground. Very quick, fun to paint, and of course he's going to be fun to use in games as well. Next, this faithful Gryph-hound, who will accompany the Lord Veritant into battle for my Stormcast Eternal army. This Gryph-hound has been sat on my table for quite a few months now, without being painted, and the reason was I wasn't exactly sure how to proceed. I tried a few different things with it, different kinds of dry brushing, but I was never 100% happy with it. So I decided, instead of just dry brushing the feathers, I'd take a bit more time on them and paint them the same way that I painted the feathery kind of decorations and bird wings that I've used on my Dark Angels, Space Marines, the Raven Wing in particular, which is, it's not actually that complicated, it's just time consuming, because it involves painting the whole thing white, all the feathery area, then putting a wash over it of whatever colour. In this instance it was purple because I wanted the rest of it to be somewhat purple, and then picking out each individual feather in white again, without going near the crevices. So I think it looks very effective in the end. It just takes a bit of time. I would imagine if you're doing it on many Gryph-hounds it would get annoying painting that way. But I'm sure, equally, there are people out there who spend even more time on it than that, doing multiple layers of highlight on each feather, which is a level I'm not aspiring to right now. And then as far as the rest of the body goes, I did decide to go for dry brush in the end. It's a consecutive dry brush of different purples, starting off dark, then moving into light, and then the very edges and corners are in white. So I think in the end it looks pretty tasty. I'm happy enough with it to put it on the table, but I'm not necessarily looking forward to painting a lot more Gryph-hounds, so I'm not sure if I'll actually get any more, because people tend to do them in different colour schemes, and it took me so long deciding how to paint just one, I dread to think how long it'd take me to do an entire unit of them. So here he is next to the Lord Veritant. He's a fairly sizable beast, goes up to about groin height on a Stormcast Eternal, and they have already taken to the field of battle together, with some success. Although their main purpose, of course, is to unbind enemy spells, and they haven't had a chance to do that yet because the only army they've played against didn't bring any magic. Next we've got another Stormcast Eternal model, and this guy was on my painting table for even longer. This is the Lord Relictor, and I got this in my first Age of Sigmar starter box, which has got to be over a year ago now. So this guy has just been sat there for a really long time unfinished. Because there's so much detail on him, it's very daunting to actually start picking all the individual pieces out. And there's lots of swirly bits of cloak parchment that wrap around other parts of the miniature, so it's difficult to access. So it's just when a miniature looks difficult to paint, it takes me a long time to get round to it. The actual process of painting it wasn't actually that difficult, definitely not as hard as it looked, but there is still a lot of detail. You can probably tell I haven't used a vast amount of different colours on it. The candles on the top there are painted in exactly the same way I painted all the bones, which is put the bone colour down, Agrax Earthshade over that, and then paint bone again onto the raised areas. But after that, I thought I don't want everything to just be bone coloured, because it's exactly the same as the skeleton and the parchment, so I decided I'd put a yellow wash over it after that stage, which makes them look a little bit different and adds a little bit of variety to it. You can see the back, the scroll work there. In my method of painting Stormcast Eternals, that's possibly the part that takes the longest, because I paint it in that bony colour, then put the Agrax Earthshade over the whole thing, and then paint around all the letters in bone again. I think it looks quite nice and effective, but it is very time consuming. And you can see he's got even more scroll work on his big totem there as well. So it took quite a long time. It wasn't difficult as such, just time consuming. So there we go, you can see a nice picture of everything that was done during the month of February. And I have to say, I'm quite pleased with how all that stuff looks. Particularly pleased with the balls, I have to say. I think they add something different to my Kings of War Goblin army, a little bit of a talking point. People do tend to comment on them, as you'd expect, when you whip your multicoloured balls out onto the table. So, what am I painting during March? Well, on my table right now, I have some Stormcast Eternal stuff and some trolls for my Kings of War Goblin army. And as I look at them, they are almost finished. As far as the Stormcast Eternals go, it is actually the Stardrake I'm working on, but right now, I'm just working on the rider rather than the actual Stardrake itself. I'm just painting him, his seat, and a couple of armour plates. And then I'm going to get to the actual complete Stardrake after that, once a bit of space has been freed up on the table, because it is quite a huge, monstrous beast. All I've done on it so far is a little bit of airbrushing on the wings, but I am hoping to get all that finished during this month. Anyway, let me know what you think of these miniatures, if you have any questions on techniques that were used, if you want to offer me any tips on how to make these look even better. then drop them in the old comments, and I will catch you next time. Ta-ta!